Hello, students, and thanks for tuning in to the evening edition of the writing lesson. It is late, but still on time because it's still Monday, the 5th day of October. Take a look at that date 10/5/20. New month, that means we put a new number, and October is month number 10 in our year. So today we're now down to just focusing on the regular lowercase letters, the ones that don't have a tail that drop below the line, these letters that aren't tall, like the letter F, but just the regular ones. So let's first go over the letter I. And this, like I said, is not worth spending more than a whole day on because it's very simple. But I want you to know that you make the stroke like this, top to bottom, just like we've practiced on practically everything. The first stroke is top to bottom. Then you pick up your pencil and make a dot like that, about that size. Not too big, not too small. Again, top to bottom. Try to make it straight, and I'm sitting a little crooked, and so it's making me draw a little bit crooked. I'll try and sit a little bit straighter, and a moderate sized dot like that. And we want to avoid making it grow up like a plant. Do not make a letter I. See how it's growing up out of the ground? No, 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 no. You don't want to do that. You want to make it top to bottom. That's stroke number one. You pick it up, and then this isn't even really a stroke, it's just like a dot. So there you go. Practice that. Make 10 of those letter I's. Try to make them straight. And another one to avoid. Okay, here's a common thing. First of all, with that dot, this is probably the biggest issue with the letter I because it's otherwise very simple. People turning it into a lollipop. Letter I is not a lollipop. And you want to make sure, just like all letters, excuse me, you don't go below the line or start under this dotted line. Sometimes I see that. That's not going to work. Do it like the blue examples. And now we'll move on to the letter R, and this requires a little more hand motor coordination, the fine motor skills. There's a letter R. Now we're going to start this like a lot of letters, just like the letter I. Make a line that goes straight down, exactly like you're making a letter I. I'm a little crooked because I'm going so slow. But I'm going to bounce off that bottom line and go right back up. And I'm tracing right on it again. And when I start getting toward the top, I start making this arc. And just like those arcs, like the letter C, it's the same idea, just a different direction. Let me do that again. Just like you're making a letter I. Top to bottom, bounce off the bottom line. Trace on top of the same line you just made. Then when you're almost near the top, start making the arc. It glances off the middle line and stop right there. So that's the correct way to make the letter R. And it's quite simple. It's just got to stay under the dotted line and above the black line. And in fact, all the letters we're going to be learning in the coming days are just like that. They all are going to fit right inside of this line, with the exception of this letter I. Notice the letter I does stick above there, but it's just that dot. So that's the one exception. So there you go. I want you to do 10 of these letter R's in the same way. And again, we ran out of time during class to practice these numbers. I keep meaning to get back to them. So 1, 2, and that would be pretty tedious for me to just count. So look at that. See, I left it a little bit jagged. I'm going to fix that just because I'm trying to make it nice for you guys to see as an example. So yeah, like I said, I saw your guys' numbers a couple of weeks ago, and I went, whoa, we need to practice those numbers. And we treat them like capital letters. They're all the same height. They reach the top line and reach the bottom line, just like that. And you want to practice and make sure your digits are good too. I've saw some people who had great handwriting. They were writing beautiful letters. And the numbers were all over the place. So we want the numbers to look good, like you make your letters. And I'm actually writing on an iPad, so sometimes you see that it looks a little squiggly when I'm writing it. That's kind of something I can't control. This is actually made of glass, and the pen is actually plastic. So this is plastic on glass. It's a little different than writing with a pencil on a paper. And we're going to finish with a 0. Not a 10, but a 0, because that's the last digit. So I know that was a little tedious, but there it is. We have your writing assignment right here. And I'll remind you to, whoops, let me get rid of this thing so you can see the date as well. And there you go. Practice the letter I 10 times and the letter R 10 times, just like we talked about. And these digits from 1 through 0.